in the daily grind, and it grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. Didn't get this disease, I eat too much candy. Sugar, it ain't a pager, it's a Papa Willie Jones, and it comes in handy. Tell me, sugar mama, what you ain't wanna see? Are you into endocrinology? The pricker is a pricker and the pumper is pumping. Beats like Wilford Brimley keeps coming in. Officer, I ain't been drinking. My blood sugar is low. Roll on some insulin just to get it on. And you know, I'm counting carbs and my calories burning. Pricker to the finger to deliver the prick. Wake up tomorrow and it starts again because I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive. One minor inconvenience, a little thing called diabetes. It's a daily grind and the daily grind, and it grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. You got to watch what you're eating. You gotta watch it every day. What do you call it? What do you call it? Is it diabetes or diabetes? Yes, I'm alive. I'm alive. One minor inconvenience, a little thing called diabetes.
Well, and I want to start a little bit by how we got to know each other. I graduated from Norman High School and got a phone call from a dear friend saying, "Hey, did you hear about Mac Winters? His kid was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes." And Mac's a year below me in high school, or was in life. Not just high school, it was so long ago.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Anywho, and so I never reached out, or I don't think. And then kid 2 was diagnosed, and I think that's when I don't even remember how. Did I just send you a Facebook message?
I don't know how. I don't even know you were diabetic, so I don't.
I think it was Becky Riddle, the Toon family, that brought that to my attention. Anywho, so there's the history on that, and so I don't remember, but we started communicating, and then I got to know, and I hadn't met you yet, and we all went to dinner.
Yes, we did. We went to local. Yep.
At local.
And we met the boys. Ryan
That
and I
was almost
joined
2
them.
years ago.
Yeah,
No.
which is crazy.
Yep.
He had, So we have 2 youngsters that just joined us that'll be the topic of discussion. Do you guys want to tell us
say
who you
hi?
are?
Say hi.
Okay, that's a maybe. You'll see pictures and you'll. I can
Talk to the
smell them.
microphone?
Okay. Well,
They're
if you
being shy.
loosen
no
up
big
at
deal.
any point.
They were just testing their blood sugar a second ago.
Yep.
We went from a 37, now we're at 81, so we're on the upward swing. We totally understand that.
Just an average morning, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And what were they snacking on to bring the blood sugar up?
Fruits. Well, we tried a popsicle
Oh, yeah?
and some fruit
Okay.
snacks.
Okay.
So it's kind of the 3-year-old was the one that went low, and he's very picky and can get really irate in a low. So sometimes it's just throwing food at a bear, and then
yeah.
fixing it later on when we know we probably did too many carbs, but it kept him calm. So and
Sure,
he
you-
took something.
You're taking care of the immediate need.
Absolutely,
Right now.
absolutely. He's had a lot of glucagon shots because he does get so hysterical. So
okay.
sometimes it's better to just give him more and then correct a little bit later than to have to do glucagon mini dosing. I don't know if you guys have ever done that.
And I've never done the mini dosing before.
They're
What's that like?
great. It's great. You just mix up your glucagon and then you give 5 units every 15 minutes until they're up, and
wow.
it is almost immediate.
Wow.
So it's
Now, that's
wonderful. In
pretty
fact,
cool.
in Europe, they have the glucagon mini dosing pens. So
Oh, that
you
is-
can just
that is
dial up what you
cool.
need. and-
yes, absolutely. Which would be wonderful because it would be nice to be able to treat lows without sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
So to
Trying to
just get
force
them up.
feed a 3-year-old while they're half asleep in the middle of the night.
Yeah, you just give them a little glucagon shot.
Give them a shot.
Well, I
while
never
they're
even
sleeping.
thought about
That's
the
amazing.
glucagon shots until somebody brought it up, and they're like, "Well, what if you can't?" Because I've been hospitalized when I couldn't stop vomiting, and of course they hook you up to an IV. Well, I couldn't. If I would have had that glucagon shot, it would have saved me a ton of, maybe going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Never even considered that. So
Yep, and it
Yeah.
is something that can be used casually, to fix a low. And I think that's always forgotten because whenever you go to the endocrinologist, they always ask, do you have your emergency pin, the emergency glucagon around? And it's meant for just an emergency. I think is what we've always been taught.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those situations where you got the flu,
Yeah.
or you're so tired, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you're 37, you
Yeah.
can't move off the bed, or something, then that's where it's for. And for somebody who can't really recognize them when they're going low,
Yes.
as a kid, and then they're just 30, I mean, the glucagon's got to be amazing for you guys.
And I mean, I even asked, I thought, are we using this too much? And the doctor was like, absolutely not. Our bodies are supposed to make glucagon.
Right.
So it's kind of like insulin. Do we really need to worry about using too much insulin? Do we need to worry about using too much glucagon?
Right.
We do what we need. And so I would just love to have the option of glucagon over juice boxes and things that rot my kids' teeth and then
Yeah.
start a perpetual habit of, I want to go low because I want more candy.
yeah,
That kind of
I
thing.
never would
Oh,
even
no
thought
doubt.
of that.
So-
yeah.
If they're throwing up, you can't give them, food and they just throw it back up again. So this way we can.
Do you feel like there's
So-
any manipulation?
Oh, absolutely. It's constant manipulation, constantly. And they've even got it where, it's like they know we're on a turnpike where there's nowhere to pull over. And it's like, I'm low. So sometimes I just will toss something back to them so we don't have to stop around 75-mile-an-hour cars. And then I get off the highway and I'm like, oh, really? Because now you're 300. I don't think those 15 carbs pumped you up.
To that level.
250 points. So they definitely work the system, and they try to work it with people that don't know too, like the grandparents and whatnot. So
I can't speak completely for their intentions, but there are times whenever you're not low where you kind of feel low.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. You
where you're saying it?
you're dropping down.
Where you feel it, but as a kid, I worked the system a little bit too.
Yeah.
A little
you
bit.
would.
a little
I was a
bit.
good kid and did not even know the system existed. Yeah.
All right, so will you guys walk us through an average day in the Winters household? What it looks like when you guys wake up?
Don't touch
It's I guess the average day kind of starts in the middle of the night because I usually start waking up a lot worrying about what their blood sugars are doing because we have a lot of problems with night blood sugars. We've Tyler's been diabetic had diabetes, for 4.5 years, and we still can't get our nights figured out. He tends to go high and go low. Tanner tends to go low in the early hours. So I'm already waking up, laying in bed, thinking about it and thinking, okay, am I going to get up right now or should I go check? And sometimes I'll just walk into their rooms to make sure they're sleeping normal or breathing. And other times I'll check their blood sugars. They sleep right through it.
So Tyler, you don't feel your blood sugars go down at all in the middle of the night?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Tanner, we could check him at 10 o'clock. He'll be 350. And we won't give him anything. He could be 60.
Within a couple of hours.
Well,
Wow.
when it's time to get up, it
Yeah.
could be So it's tricky to even dose them at night.
Well, okay, so Tyler's had diabetes for how long?
4.5 years.
4.5.
And
Okay.
he's sick. Just turned 7. Excuse me. Turned 7 last week.
7. Wow.
7.
And Tanner has had diabetes for how long?
A little over 2 years.
And he
He
is
is 3.
3. So is his body still maybe producing? Are we? I don't know what the term is.
That's an interesting question because I just read an article that is kind of changing the way that researchers and doctors used to think about type 1 diabetes. They thought that if you were diagnosed as a teen, you lost your beta cells quicker than if you were diagnosed as a young child. Well, now they're finding kids diagnosed under 6 are actually losing their beta cells quicker and have less, function than older diagnoses. So, and I could see that when they were diagnosed because everyone kept talking about this honeymoon period. There was no honeymoon period. We went from a normal child to excessive urination, vomiting, to a constant need for insulin. So
Right.
there was no honeymoon period with these boys. When Tyler, when he was diagnosed, he was misdiagnosed multiple times with just a stomach bug or a virus. So he went into full-blown diabetic ketoacidosis, and we were sent. They actually had to hook him up to an IV in the doctor's office and then have a ambulance take him to Children's Hospital. So, because he was so ill, and then we were in the ICU for a couple days. So, but then Tanner, he was diagnosed because he just wet through a diaper during a 30-minute nap. And so we immediately took him to the ER and we checked his blood sugar, and it was in the 360s, and checked it like 5 more times. It was still in the 360s. So we took him to the ER, and the ER wouldn't believe us that he had type 1. They did 21 pages worth of tests. And finally I said, well, you're not sending us home because I know he has type 1 diabetes. The pediatricians can do their rounds in the morning. And sure enough, he did, but they kept telling us it may be 6-7 months before he actually fully needs insulin. And his A1C went from 6.4 to 11.1 in
My
2.5
gosh.
weeks.
Wow.
He had
Yeah.
to feel like crap the whole
Yeah,
time.
he did.
Wow.
It was crazy. So neither of my boys honeymooned. It was done. When their pancreas
Done.
stopped, they stopped. Just so I believe the research that I read recently.
That makes some sense.
Okay, well, if Tyler will talk to us. So I give daily injections. So I give about 5 shots a day. And Ryan, what do you do normally?
I'm on the pump. So
Until today.
I take a whole lot of half unit, 1 unit, 1.5 unit, 2 unit boluses. Basically like surfing the wave basically all day.
And
Yeah.
Tyler, what do you give shots or do you have a pump?
Pump.
Pump. Oh,
Pump.
okay.
And what's the name of your pump?
Ricky?
called?
Is
What's
it
it
called
called?
Ricky?
No.
Like I heard your mom talking about a second ago. It's the Animus, correct?
The
Animus type
Does he
of
know
pump?
that?
Oh, yeah, let's take
Will
a
you
look.
show it to us?
Well, there's your Dexcom. Once you pull your pump out.
We just pulled out the Dexcom.
Oh, that's a really cool pouch you got going there.
Got the Angry Birds pouch going on
That is
for the
so
pump.
cool.
That is sweet.
Wow. And what about Tanner?
Tanner, you want
Tanner, let's see your pump.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow. That's a robot. That is so cool.
We got to watch him because look at the suckers and he'll be flinging around like this. So.
Yeah, he'll detach himself and lasso it around, and then sometimes he likes to chew on the pump cord.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got it there. Ryan, where's your pump? You want to show them yours?
Sure.
I don't have
Sure.
one, or else I'd pull it out too.
See, just a little bit different, just a different color. Yeah.
Blue.
But
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm thinking about, guys, I might do a Dexcom trial.
Nice.
I've never had anything like this.
Yeah.
So do you guys have, are they CGNs?
Yes.
It's
Yep.
horrible. I don't
That's
know
the
that.
Dexcom
Oh,
right there.
wow.
You'd be surprised how accurate these things are.
That's crazy.
They are.
And of everything I can tell, the research, user experience, the Dexcom accuracy is very good. Yeah,
Yes.
lots of trust. Have you felt that way? as
Yeah,
parents?
absolutely. In fact, a couple of months ago, we had an extra one, so I wore it for a week.
Oh my God.
It didn't hurt when I put it in, which I know that typically it doesn't hurt the boys, but every now and then you'll
You get a sensitive spot,
you
yeah.
get a
It
sensitive
happens.
spot.
Yep.
But I randomly was checking my blood sugar throughout the day to see, how exercise would affect it or how eating would affect it. And it just didn't affect it at all. There was just a straight line right across the board for myself.
How nice that would be.
I know.
It really, once you see your kids and how crazy all the different insults from the environment and the food, how it happens throughout the day, it makes you really gracious for your body's ability to just maintain.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Absolutely.
The homeostasis. Yeah.
And it just makes me think too, a lot of people in my family have type 2 diabetes. And so really it would be such an injustice to my children to not take care of myself and to put my body through what it would need to become a type 2 diabetic. So I've become more health conscious through this situation to make sure I take care of myself, because my kids, they were born with a body that didn't want to work right.
Right.
Mine, I'm blessed that I was born with a body that did want to work right. So it's my job to take care of it. So
that's a really interesting observation for sure. Yeah, I was curious how life for you and as parents, just as individuals, how you've grown since the diagnosis. I mean, has your outlook on life and health changed since the boys have had this going on?
It absolutely has. In fact, after Tyler was first diagnosed, I had gained a lot of weight when my kids were born, and didn't really take care of myself. And after Tyler's diagnosis, I really didn't take care of myself. And so I decided at one point, that's when I came to the realization that it's my job to take care of my body for my kids, because it's not just about me, and so I can be around and set a good example for them, because they have, this huge thing they're going to be dealing with, hopefully not for the rest of their lives, but at this point, maybe. So, so I got back into fitness and eating right and just trying to maintain that while I'm taking care of the kids. Because a lot of parents, they feel, especially with new diagnoses and really small kids, I've talked to a lot of parents that just don't give themselves the time. They just are completely focused on, what you need to do for your kids. And I think a lot of us parents need to step back and learn to take care of ourselves too.
When you're leading by example. I mean, so many moms, parents, not just moms. Yeah. So we lost one of the kids.
He was getting restless.
Restless.
Yep, we're -1 now.
-1.
Actually, we added them both during the show, and it lost one, so we're +1.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, what do we want to ask these people?
Well, I never really finished up our daily routine.
Oh, yeah. Let's get back to the daily routine.
Thank you.
I'm good at getting people off track. My bad.
I like that. That's
Okay,
good.
so middle of the night testing. So
testing, we have to test at night, like we said, because we still haven't figured out a basal that works for them, and there's growth spurts that they're going through. I mean, also, from what I understand from what the doctors have told us, that diabetes is a lot harder to manage in the younger children, that once they hit like 7, 8, 9, 10, that's when their bodies start being more predictable. So at this point, they say you can't predict, you can only react.
Right.
So we typically will keep them high through the night, so we don't have to worry about a low.
Yeah.
And in the mornings we just correct them.
Yeah.
Go from there.
So,
Right.
Yep. So if we can keep them, at a decent number by like 10:30 or 11, then one of us can go to bed, and we can go to bed for the night. If not, then I just set my alarms and keep waking up to check. And then, like I said before, then I can't tell you how many times I've just woken up and had that intuition to check them, and they've been low. And I've heard a lot of sorry, I know a lot of people don't like the word diabetic parents.
we struggle with it
This
as well.
is an evolving process for us, too.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Not
big
the only
time.
one.
Especially in writing.
But a lot of moms out there that talk about waking up in the middle of the night and catching a 30 or a 40 or, even scarier, lower. In fact, I just spoke with a mom in Nebraska who her daughter is in my best friend's classroom. That's what they did. They woke up one night just out of instinct, and her daughter was having a seizure.
Oh, wow.
And they thought, had she slept through, had not woken up, the outcome could have been horrible in the morning. So
What does that feel like? Is it a thought, or is it just a gut feeling like, hey, the boys are low?
it's a gut feeling where you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, I shouldn't, I almost talk myself out of it. I say, no, I'm overreacting. I'm being paranoid. but then it just keeps plugging at you. And so, and you can't fall back asleep. You just get wide awake. So,
And that's probably different than a thought, you know, right?
Yeah.
It's different than just a worrying
no, it's
thought.
just it's a feeling of like a little bit of doom, kind of, I guess you could say, that you
Wow.
get as a parent. And there's other times where I'm just going to check them because I can't stop thinking about it. So, but I also had, I've had a couple friends pass away.
Oh, yeah, you
from type
dated
1
someone,
diabetes.
didn't you?
Yes, he's very healthy. He didn't pass away, thank heavens. He's very healthy, but one of my close friends all through growing up. In fact, she passed away less than a year before Tyler was diagnosed from complications. She was waiting for a new pancreas. Terrible situation. Then a childhood friend that had it was in Mexico, and
Yeah.
we don't know what happened. It just happened. So I get there
Yep.
is, I have to talk myself off the ledge a lot with some of my worries, so I don't impede my kids' ability to live a normal life. So I internalize my crazy. So
Well, okay, so
Man.
now you finally scrape yourself out of bed at what time?
right, by 6 usually, if not, or well, he's always by 6, and I'm in bed saying, "Let me just have 5 more minutes."
I think everybody does that. Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
begging for it.
Tear the Band-Aid off. Just get up.
Yeah, and so
It's time.
Then it's just what every diabetic. The first thing we do is we have to check them. So that's when we get to see, well, did what we did last night, did it work or not? And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But
Do you gauge their breakfast around what their blood sugar is, or do you just?
No, we give them just whatever they'll eat, pretty much.
they're picky eaters, so it's kind of like if you will eat this and put food in your body, that's good. Tyler, our oldest, he really resists breakfast a lot, and then of course he doesn't want to eat his breakfast, and it's like, well, you're going to go low. And sometimes I just put him on the school bus and say, well, you're going to have to deal with this, and he'll check himself on the bus and take the glucose tabs if he needs it, or mid-morning at school. I feel bad the teacher has to deal with it,
Right.
but I think he's learning, and here lately he's been a lot better about eating breakfast. So he understands. He's
Breakfast
learning
is
about
one
his
of my
body.
favorite meals because it gives you the fuel for the rest of the day, right, Ryan?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Breakfast. But I've always been the person who wakes up and loves breakfast. But, you'll have friends, the rest of your life, Tyler, that will say things like, oh, I don't have to eat breakfast. I'm never hungry at breakfast, or I never eat lunch. I just eat dinner. But for us, I mean, we kind of have to
kinda
stick
need
to our
to
3
eat.
meals a day, because the
It's an important
insulin doesn't stop for us, and we don't have the handy glucagon
Yeah.
coming around
Yeah.
to help us out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tyler's on the bus.
Tyler's on the bus by 7:10 in the morning.
Do you pack his lunches?
I pack his lunches and I write the carb counts down on everything he eats, so that way his teacher knows how to dose him.
Yeah.
And then they check. They check based on if he if he feels low, which he's really good about voicing that at school. He doesn't have a problem talking about it in front of other kids. And then I only have the teacher call me if there's a big issue. I really leave it all at school because I want Tyler to feel like he can be independent from me and at school, and also so the teacher knows that I really do trust her.
Oh,
that
yeah.
she doesn't and I don't want to take any more time out of the classroom that needs to be taken care of. She's so gracious. In fact, her name's Mrs. Literal at Tuttle Elementary School. She just does it, and she does it with a smile on her face, and she's happy to do it. And
At what age will
With
it?
with the
That's
cell
incredible.
phones too.
Yeah.
And you don't have to
can-
take him to the office. Like when we were kids, you had to make a phone call. You went to the office. Well, cell phone's right there. Shoot a text, and
Yeah.
we'll shoot a text back. So communication is almost immediate, which helps out.
Yeah.
with
It
this.
stays in the
Well,
classroom.
Yeah.
At what
Yeah.
age does he start dialing it up himself?
that's a really interesting question, because I think a lot of parents have different views on this. And my view that I've decided to take on this, which it's just what I do, is I'm not going to force my kids to do this because they're going to have to do it for the rest of their lives. So I will ask them, hey, Tyler, would you please check your own blood sugar? And he is very good about that kind of stuff. But if there's days that he just doesn't want to have to do it, I'm going to step in and do it.
Yeah.
Because since he was 2.5.
Yeah.
Right.
He's never going to know anything different. And so what if for a few more years, I just take the burden from him?
Well, Tyler,
that's-
do you help your brother test his blood sugar sometimes?
No.
What?
Tanner
You're
won't
like
let him.
supposed to be. Oh, Tanner won't let him. Oh, I cannot imagine having a sibling with
But
diabetes.
you've offered. You're willing to help, aren't you?
No.
No, I bet. Well, can you tell? Let me ask you this: can you tell when your brother's blood sugar is low?
When he's whining like a baby.
Well, he's kind of a baby. I mean, he was a baby not too long ago, so that's a tough one. But I'm glad that you can detect it. I feel like I can tell when Ryan's low. He acts like a unique person.
That's when I'm most unique.
I'm sure he can tell when I'm low too.
No comment.
I'm extra special.
Both these boys have been able to tell us when they're low since, Tanner probably, less than a year after he was diagnosed?
He could tell you.
Wow.
He couldn't say much, but he could sure say low. Or
Yeah,
something.
it kind of sounded like meow. So the grandparents were always like, "You want the cat?" I was like, and Tyler would say, "No, he's low." He's like, "Me whoa, me whoa."
He's been able to translate for Tanner for years.
Tyler, how do you feel when your blood sugar gets low?
Lazy.
Lazy.
Ah, that's pretty spot on.
Well, that sums up my life right there.
All the motivation goes away.
Do you get sweaty?
No.
No sweaty. Okay, well, that might
Here,
come.
let me put the microphone down a little bit so you can.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Do you get a little grumpy?
No.
Oh, I bet you.
It's hard to be objective about your own mood states.
That's true.
That's tough.
Yeah.
They always talk about how you have to be.
It won't go down.
It's not until your mid-20s that your prefrontal cortex and your brain develops, and you develop more executive function. But the same thing's also happening in your peripheral nervous system. So your ability to detect lows and what's going on in your body only increases over time. And eventually it turns into a mood state, noticing, but he's already doing it. And that just continues to grow as he gets older, but he's already got a heightened awareness. That's pretty awesome.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's-
Thanks for geeking out because
Oh, yeah.
that is good for people to understand.
Yeah,
Long term.
absolutely. Because I know a lot of people talk about that. My kids just don't feel it. So it's nice now I can go and tell them, oh, actually, their brain hasn't developed in that way yet, but it will come. So, and it will get better every year. So
It just comes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just takes time. I know we've always talked about this. The low sensations have changed from physical as a kid to more of a mind state
Mental, definitely.
check over time.
Yeah. So, okay.
But his-
Kids, go ahead.
His favorite subject in school is lunch, isn't it? Isn't it your favorite part about school?
Yes.
Or recess too, right?
I don't like recess.
Okay, lunch.
Oh,
He
okay.
is.
Lunchtime.
And he usually eats all of his lunch, doesn't he? Which is really good.
yes.
You hardly pack me anything in lunch.
You hardly pack anything? What? I doubt
I'll
that.
try and pack more in your lunch.
But by the end of the
Monday.
day, he's exhausted. It takes it out of him. A lot of time he'll fall sound asleep on the school bus coming home. So
What are the blood sugars at that point? Do we know?
Yeah, I check him as soon as he gets off the school bus. He's usually in the low 100s by the time he gets off the school bus. Any kind of activity really drops him. And I think one of the reasons why he doesn't like recess that much is because, in Oklahoma, it's hot a lot.
Yeah.
And he tends to drop low in the heat. So he just gets miserable and just wants to sit down.
That's understable. Wow.
That
Everybody else
totally
can easily run
understandable.
around and you
Yeah.
don't feel the same way.
and we're trying to introduce him into sports. Baseball, basketball, soccer.
No,
And
no,
he's just
no.
is real interested because I think he gets tired real easy.
Well,
Yeah.
Ryan played all kinds of sports. What all did you play, Ryan?
Football, baseball, and basketball. Yep.
So, yeah.
But my situation was different too because I grew up, I started playing most of those sports at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And then I was diagnosed at 9. So those were already worked in to the system. And then it was just a matter of putting diabetes on the sideline and incorporating it.
Yeah.
So it would be different too. And as I'm sure, he gets older, that whole experience with lows will change as his ability to detect things changes and his ability to incorporate temp basals into his life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of options and it'll grow.
This is all new stuff for us too. We're just kind of learning as we go too.
Oh, that's how you have to do it. I feel like, and we've talked about
doubt.
this a lot. We're all similar, but not the same. And so that's really hard when they give you a clear cut here's what everybody needs to do. Well, that's just not the case. So,
Oh, not at all. I can just say from my experience with 2 diabetics, kids with diabetes, they are so different. Everything about the way that we manage their diabetes is completely different from one another. They're very unique, which was a learning curve for me because I just thought I could do what I did with Tyler and it would be fine. And that wasn't the case. So
Do they have different carb ratios?
they do. They have different carb ratios, but that's expected since there's, 3 years difference between them, but not much. When Tyler was Tanner's age, Tyler's the 7-year-old, Tanner's the 3-year-old. Tyler's carb ratio was much lower. Tyler had a carb ratio starting out of like 1 to 4. Or not 1 to 4, excuse me. No, 1 to 40. My bad.
Okay.
And
Wow.
Tanner was never 1 to 40. Tanner was like 1 to 30.
Okay.
And then at this point, Tanner's 1 to 20, and Tyler's about 1 to 15. It varies with meal. Each meal is different on a carb ratio because, like I said, we're still trying to fine tune how to figure out what we can do during the day to not affect the night. Because when you think about the night and being high at the night, that's 8 to 10 hours. So that's almost half of your day that you're spending every day, possibly in the 300s just to bottom out. So we've really, really struggled, and it changes. Every couple months we're changing the basals to try to see if we figured it out. And we just haven't quite figured it out yet. So
It sounds like to me as a parent, you get to experience what the mind game is like as an adult person with diabetes. Like what our game is every day, what we do, you're basically doing as parents, but it's not even inside you.
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to run a game that you can't feel every day.
Yeah.
Just so interesting
that's
because
a
they're
good way
doing
of
this.
putting
They're
it.
doing the same things we are every day. Yeah.
well, okay. I want to shift into a little bit more of, if it's okay with you,
Oh, yeah,
Ryan,
go ahead.
is life for you guys. So switching to the adult side of things, and how do you have a normal life, if you want to call it that? There is no normal life, let's be honest, but
Oh my gosh, we just can't call any babysitter,
right.
So during the summertime, we still like to go out, have
Yeah.
drinks, go to the bar, even though I'm 40, 2:00 in the morning. Oh my gosh.
no way.
So we try to have get-togethers here
Yeah,
at our house,
yeah.
in a
Nice.
big backyard, so we can still have fun as adults and hang out with friends, let the kids run around and go
Yeah.
crazy, and it feels like you can get away for a minute. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the recognition of that happen like pretty close after the first diagnosis,
Absolutely.
or that was necessary?
It was immediate. It was immediate, even in the sense that the people around you don't truly understand what you're going through,
Right.
and you don't even understand what you're going through at that moment. So I felt very isolated.
Sure.
I can't speak for Mac, but it just
Well, luckily, I get to leave. I get to leave this chaos every day and go to work. I have chaos at work, but it's different. Trisha's here with it 24 hours a day, and so when I get home, that's kind of, I guess, her escape, or her exercising her escape. So I don't. But I
Yep.
get to sometimes mornings, and it's time for me to go. I'll leave 10 minutes early because it's some crazy shit in here. I'm ready to get the hell out.
we definitely don't have the leisures of other parents with
Right.
kids without diabetes. Like Max said, we just can't get a babysitter anytime, and we still have people that don't get that. There's like,
Right.
oh, we'll just go on care.com, and I'm like, well, you just don't understand.
That's a tough
it's
one.
so. When my kids get older, I would probably be more likely to do that, but they're so young. They catch most of their lows, but they still miss lows. Tanner still has a hard time enunciating words, so we would be at the mercy of someone understanding what he's saying. And then you sit there and think, well, I'm going to probably worry the whole time.
Well, what about the little girl you said that lives
Right.
in the neighborhood that's in the 7th grade?
Oh, she doesn't live in the neighborhood. She lives, when she gets a little older, I probably will.
Yeah.
In fact, her mom's the speech therapist in town, so if she wants to be a babysitter, I'll do that. But the funny thing is I've tried to talk to some teenagers before, or their parents. They're like, oh, would they like to have diabetes? And they never want to babysit. I think they're like, I deal enough with my own. I don't want to deal with other ones. it was bumpy. We had to kind of learn how to be a family and function as a husband and wife with dealing with this diagnosis and dealing with how it changed our life. I mean, because all of you out there know it just kind of turned everything upside down. And I was like, all right, we have to learn how to live with this again. And I mean, now it's such a part of our life that it's just kind of there. I don't even think about it's just what we do.
Well, and Ryan may know the statistics, I'm sure you do, but how, what are the chances of the second child also having it?
They told us it was just slightly elevated over the general population. Like, is it 5% chance in the general population, or was it that, or is it 2.2, something like that?
We'll figure this out and put it in the show notes.
I think it's one. I think it's like one in every 1,000 kids, or
so maybe.
It's somewhere around there. And so they would have said maybe you have a 1 in 500 chance now. Probably.
No, not even that much. It wasn't even that much. It's just a slight raise in the chance of having another child with type 1. In fact, I was so worried about that because I was pregnant at the time with Tanner when Tyler was diagnosed. Okay. And they kept telling me, you all don't have a family history in this. It's such a slight risk. They're like, it's not going to happen. They're like, don't even worry about
You won the lottery, the diabetes lottery.
We did. We beat the odds. It's pretty special odds to beat.
As weird as it sounds, like having a sibling with it, that's a support team, a built-in support team.
It is.
I feel like
it is. And I always tell parents, because there may be parents out there listening right now that have one child with type 1 diabetes, and they're constantly worrying about their other children. And we are not the typical. Our situation is very atypical as far as the diabetes community. Most of you out there, you don't need to worry about it. Try not to worry about it, because chances are it's not probably going to happen to you all. I mean, I know that there are lots of families with multiples out there, but there are more families without. So enjoy not carb counting for your other kids, and try not to worry so much.
Well, and we at that JDRF
good advice
type 1 summit, I don't know what it all was called. I learned something that I'm not going to say freaked me out, but definitely I had never heard of, was that I have a nephew who's 5, and my sister has been tested for type 1. My older sister is adopted, so that's out of the equation. But we learned about detection. So everybody in your family should get tested, because they now have, I don't know if it's a medication, but something that can help prevent.
Yes, I can tell you about this. First of all, contact a trial net in your area, because the majority of your immediate family and extended, like your cousins and your kids' cousins, can be checked for these antibodies. There are 5 different antibodies. If an antibody is detected, you'll be checked every year, and as it progresses, you can start on medication, an oral medication that can slow the progress of the disease. In fact, the president of the JDRF, Derek Rapp, he has one son with type 1 diabetes, and his second son, I believe, has been in this trial for 5 years, and he's just been having to take 1 pill a day, and the disease hasn't progressed.
That is incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah, so think about it. With those of you out there have a 1 or 2 or 3 year old, I mean, even older, a lot of times people are like, I don't want to, have my son get a blood test at that young of age. But think about it. If 1 pill a day could have it starting at, 7, 8, 9, 10 and later, that's just 5 more years that there's more opportunity for better technology to come out. 5 more years to kind of live life, a little bit more like normal.
The cancer screenings that people can do now, and you're either really for it or really against it. And my sister was like, I don't know if I want to test Greg. I mean, I don't. And I was like, okay, all right, I can understand that. I'm thinking like you are, like this could prevent you from having to. Let's not live in denial. These things could come about. Let's hit it head on, but that's not my battle. So.
And I should clarify, most research studies, you have to be at least 3 years old in them. So I shouldn't have said 1 or 2. I should have said that. So the ones I noticed, because when Tanner was diagnosed, I was scouring through every kind of study we could put him in. And it was always 3 and older. So
This debate is something we talk about in our medical ethics classes, is these screening tests that either tell someone genetically that they're susceptible to a disease, or they tell someone that they're going to have this disease. It's just going to take time.
Yeah.
And what currently the ethical considerations are is that if you can do something about it, then you screen for it and you let somebody know. But if you can't do anything about it, then it's up to the patient if they really want to know.
Yeah.
And that should never be a recommendation from a physician.
Yeah.
Like for Huntington's, you can tell right now if somebody's going to have Huntington's. Just do a blood test, you can tell. But you can't do anything for Huntington's yet. But because we can actually delay now the start of diabetes, I would want my child tested.
Yeah.
In a second. No, for real. I don't have a child, but in the future.
Yeah, and it's free. And also, think about, they use this research, these blood tests are used in research to aid in finding a cure, to aid and find, patterns in your families. It's really a useful tool for researchers. So we as, families need to be trying to do whatever we can to hit the end game, which is a cure.
Right.
So
Yeah, and if you haven't already heard about it, TrialNet. Just Google it, and it's pretty easy to get into.
It is.
Yep.
It's awesome. In fact, if you don't live near a testing area, they will actually mail you the whole packet. You can go into your doctor's office, and they'll draw your blood for you and mail it back.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's pretty amazing.
yeah, pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah, so it's not like you have to be in an urban
Yes.
city center
Exactly.
to get the laboratory to help you.
Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Awkward moment of
Hey, well, this is a good time to take a break.
Let's take a quick break.
We'll take a pause, get a drink, and come back. Okay, we took a little break. I was shown both of the Darth Vaders in the rooms. Yep.
We all tested our blood sugars.
Everybody tested the blood sugar. Yeah.
Did you test your blood sugar?
I looked. Well, I looked at the
CGM.
pump.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the question I've got for both of you is, and I thought about it whenever you were talking about now and then later. Like, how do you balance?
We have,
Oh, it's all
no,
good, guys.
don't be sorry.
No big deal.
You
How,
can-
how do you balance knowing that this is impermanent for now, that life will change for you and them as they get older, but then also still meeting the needs today? Because it's going to dissolve eventually, or everything will change a little bit.
I've just had to take the standpoint of really living in the now, and because you can really, as a parent, get really overwhelmed with what the future will bring when you start thinking of the different stages in life. And then you think about the fact that the journey that Mac and I are on with these boys, there's an end point. Mm-hmm. At some point, we will not be involved in the care of their diabetes anymore, but they're still living with it. So their journey moves on. And it's overwhelming to think about that, about the fact that I won't be there with them to do it for them and to help them with it and to make sure that they're okay. And also the life, they're going to have insurance, their insurance, and how are they going to be new college grads and dealing with paying for this disease, and it's overwhelming. So really, we have to take the standpoint of really living in the now and not worrying so much what's going to happen even a year from now, because diabetes is perpetually changing in these small kids
Right.
as their bodies are perpetually developing.
Well, and I want to say something to that, just because as Mac and I were talking about it a second ago, I didn't announce or ever really talk about having diabetes. And this whole experience for me with the Diabetes Daily Grind has been so different, talking about everything. And I just always grew up feeling I knew I could do anything I set my mind to. Diabetes was never even a thought process there. So I think it's got to be harder for the parents, because you eventually do lose control. And I feel like you're doing the best to instill the values in your children to live life. I mean, they can do anything. Ryan, it was a wicked athlete. I would have never even wanted to do that. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to take control and they're going to figure it out, and the shit's going to hit the fan at some point, and you can be their support team, but it's up to us as people with diabetes to make those decisions, each of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. And I just think of the pressures that I feel doing it for them, that they're going to have those same pressures when they're older. And I just hope that they don't have a sense of failure. Because I do. There are a lot of times I really feel like I'm failing at this, where I dread our 3-month appointments because
It's going to be a judgment call on the A1C.
It is. And you feel like, okay, well, I didn't do so good this 3-month time period. But luckily our endocrinologist is constantly telling me that I'm in a different situation than most other diabetics. My kids are. We can't expect to get the A1C levels that other people do right now. So he has our own set of expectations, what he wants from us, because I have 2 small boys. They're wild. They're all over the place. They still graze. So they
want a rock wall in their bedroom. They dropped that hint today. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell Dad that.
Dad already built the treehouse in one of the rooms.
That's
It's
true.
a sick treehouse.
That's
yeah.
true.
Sorry.
But I just hope that at the end of the day, when I am through, with Mac and I are through this journey, that our kids come out confident and have lived as normal life as possible, and that they don't have to feel the failure that Mac and I feel on a lot of days, that we're just not doing good enough. So
Well,
One of the themes that's emerged on the website lately, and in some of our podcasts, but more in our posts that we've been writing, and just something that we've noticed too on the internet, is so hard to control an A1C and then see others always posting, like, and you see people, who
5.7.
see people who in their Twitter bios who have diabetes will actually list their A1C, and it's like 5.7 in a Twitter bio, or 5.9, and to realize that it has nothing to do with me at all. And I have no idea what their intentions are behind putting 5.7 out there. But then all I have to do every day is judge myself by my effort,
Right.
because diabetes is always changing, and I can't always control what's happening in my life. But I've got to just keep focusing on what I do every day.
And I think
my
that
effort.
if you instill in the children too, not to base their happiness on that number, I look at each day as I want to feel the best that I can today. And there are so many other factors involved that are out of my control. I'm just going to do the best that I can with the hand that I've been dealt. And so
Right.
I feel like that will be really good for them to learn sooner than later. So it's not so much stress.
And that's what we do talk about that. We say, how are you feeling? And your blood sugars are a little high right now. If you're wanting to eat this, well, okay, but it's probably not going to make you feel good. So we talk a lot about that. In fact, you all had suggested that to us when we met 2 years ago, was to really base things off of feeling. So we definitely try to do that and not make it the primary focus. I mean, for me at this point, with the whole A1Cs being posted in the diabetic online community, it's almost getting to the point where I loathe it as much as the dead in bed comments and the dead in bed articles that people put on that make me crazy. So,
Right.
but it's hard. It's hard when it's hard not to measure yourself up to everybody else. And I mean, and sometimes I'm like, it feels like it's a direct result of my parenting. Like, I can't do this. Why did everybody else do it? Why can't I get a 7.5 A1C for my kids? We just can't at this point.
Kids are different, and obviously your insulin doses are directly on what you put in your body. Try to tell that kid what to put in his body every day at every meal.
Every parent
gosh.
fights with their children about what are you going to eat today.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of just getting food in their bodies.
And now you
Absolutely.
dosing them and trying to keep their blood sugars at a correct level without getting them too high or really too low. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, and we just
Go ahead.
during the break, the kids wanted a popsicle. Well, I mean, I can't imagine my parents having to say yes or no. And so you want them to be normal children. So both kids got a popsicle. We tested blood sugars. We knew what was going to go on. But I was asking Trish, I was like, do you keep everything sugar-free in the house? Like what? My sisters hated me because my parents took all sugar out of the house. That was it. So I would sneak it. So
Yeah, we definitely stay away from sugar free. I don't know. I'd rather them just have the real stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't keep much in the house. But that was a decision that we made before we even had kids.
Right.
Just to limit it because Mac and I, we won't stop. I mean, he'll have like a hidden thing of cookies in the sock drawer, and as soon as I know it's there, I'm like, oh man, it's on. So for our own health, we can't keep it in the house. But also behind that thought process was to let them enjoy life at school, let them enjoy life in activities that we do.
So a piece of cake or whatever.
Yeah, so we're not having to say no. And also just maybe hopefully instilling in them that you don't need a house full of ice cream and cookies and things like that.
Well,
But
and we try to keep the sweets as a special treat.
Sure.
This day and age, I mean, I go into people's houses and there's just crap everywhere. It's not special. It's like a part of what you eat every day is a cupcake or a Twinkie. And so these guys, it's, we try to keep it a special thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to totally get rid of it, but we don't have cookies in the house.
Right.
We don't have Hostess boxes everywhere.
Yeah,
We have fruit
it's not about
snacks.
diabetes neccently. It's about just lifestyle.
It is.
And that's
what we
where it
tell
should
them.
probably come from.
Absolutely. Sorry, they're fighting. Mac's going to take care of it. A lot of times my kids will ask, like, why don't we get dessert every night? And it's not because you have diabetes. It's because it's not healthy. Like,
Right.
dessert is a very special thing that you don't get very often. So the
Right.
reasoning, so they understand that the reason why there's not sugar in the house is for health reasons, not for your diabetes, because mom
Right.
and dad don't need it. So, but we do Donut Friday. Like, if they've been good every Friday, we go get donuts. I'm not
Yep.
going to limit that. I mean, in fact, I was at an event. I'm not going to say what it was, but there was some donuts were like a perk, and a parent didn't know me. I didn't know them. And I said, well, we can go into this area and you can help yourself to a donut. Well, my child can't eat that. She has diabetes. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Right.
We eat it every Friday in my house. I didn't say that. I was like, oh, okay, I'm very sorry. But I thought, we can, there, you take insulin for it.
Right.
I love
So-
it. It's choices. It's empowerment.
Absolutely.
And it builds this attitude of independence and freedom and ownership of choice instead of the prison, the self-contained prison that some people, when they get to teenage years,
Yeah.
experience. It's like, I'm sick of this prison. I'm out of here. I'm free. I can eat whatever I want. I'm stopping taking insulin. Instead, it's like, hey, if I'm going to have some donuts, I'm going to take some insulin. I'm going to watch my sugar for the next couple hours.
Yeah.
It's a different deal. It's a totally different deal.
For me, I remember drinking a wine cooler and just knowing that my endocrinologist could tell from the sugar in the wine cooler. Like that was a big deal for me. And I remember I was way too young to be drinking a wine cooler, but the prison, I was like, I'm branching out. I'm going to drink this peach schnapps, whatever,
Okay,
Yeah.
this question's on a bit of a lighter note. So, say both of the boys are, in their 20s and their 30s. Okay, whenever they get older. Okay, and you guys are sitting on a boat somewhere, relaxing, having the time of your lives. Are there? It's okay. Are there any? Are there any diabetes stories that are going to make you smile? Like you're going to look back at fondly?
Are we drinking on a boat? I missed that part.
Yeah, no, I mean, like we're flashing back.
We'll drink anywhere. Boat, yard.
Basically, is there anything that'll make you smile? Like you'll like,
Like your kid did something.
yeah,
that-
like it's like, oh, that was awesome. Like that was pretty funny here.
I think we're already at that point where we can laugh at stuff. I mean, you have to be. You have to get to that point really quick. And we both, I think, deal with stuff with humor. I mean, I laugh at the thought of before Tanner was diagnosed, I would sometimes grab the wrong kid's finger and I'd be checking Tanner's blood sugar and Tyler would be like, oh, mama. he doesn't have diabetes and that kind of thing. And then just, I mean, just like our house, if they were to turn a black light on our house, it would look like a CSI crime scene because my kids like to wipe their finger pricks all over the walls and furniture. I mean, it's just...
It's my worst nightmare.
It is. I mean, it's just...
Hey, that. Some of those habits die hard. I'm still 26 and do some of those things.
I mean, just looking at my kids with their cute little pump pouches around their waist when they're running around butt naked, I mean, that's cute. It's fun. It's things to think of, Also, just, it's really cool, not necessarily humorously, but looking at our children and to see what they're capable of at such young ages.
Right.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, I can't believe the way they deal with it. And
I look forward to seeing them grow up because the different phases of life, puberty, I wish you the best. But yeah.
Well,
Glad
they're
they're
boys
boys.
and not girls.
Yeah.
I grew up with
Absolutely.
2 younger sisters, so
We're total shit shows.
yeah, evil.
There are some gifts that come through from diabetes as you get older too. Like, at school, we have free pizza lying around everywhere all the time and free Cokes and Sprites and that kind of stuff. And I've never even had the opportunity, or I've never wanted to have the opportunity to even drink that stuff. So I've never had to break the habit
Right.
of drinking Dr. Pepper or eating cookies or eating candy because we just never ate it growing up. And so your kids won't even have to worry about breaking those habits one day because they'll be like, oh, I never had Coke.
Yeah.
Or on a consistent basis. I
Yeah.
should, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I had plenty of Cokes for Lowe's, over time. But yeah,
Not just to have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
never just to have one.
Oh yeah, I just broke the Diet Dr. Pepper.
That was my
addiction, and
deal.
That was pretty brutal.
You did it.
So
I had to do the same thing.
It
I'd
was
start my
brutal.
day with one.
Oh, me too. Me too. So, and in fact, I stopped it because my kids were wanting it. So I stopped it so they would not want it anymore. And also it was like the one last thing that I was doing that was just bad.
Man,
So-
that and a Diet Coke with a lime from
Man.
a certain place that I love. Man. Yeah,
Oh, you're
kicking that
talking
habit.
about from?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I had that so much growing up. Diet Coke with lime.
Fresh lime, not the lime juice, but
No, yeah, you had to request it.
yep.
Fresh lime. Yeah.
And I think going back to the high school years and things like that, I wasn't carb counting at that point, but you had maybe a little bit more of a grasp of what better things you could put into your body, hopefully. So, and I mean, with girls too, the carb counting, calorie counting and stuff like that, it's part of your everyday deal. Then when somebody freaks out about eating chips and salsa, I'm like, well, let's talk about how many pieces of white bread that actually is going into your body in my mind, how I judge things. But yeah,
You do develop a bit more of a health conscious
it can be unhealthy too.
awareness.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, okay, so I asked this earlier because I just recently in the past 3 years started celebrating my diaversary. So especially with young ones, what do you guys celebrate and what do you do?
We absolutely celebrate. It's something that the boys enjoy. And I mean, it's also like, man, we made it through another year. This is awesome. So we typically go get cupcakes or a cake or whatnot. And then usually a toy because my kids are spoiled rotten. So we take them and they get to pick out a toy.
Yeah,
But
we tend to, since they don't get treats, sweets,
Right.
and stuff like that all the time, we tend to overindulge with a Hot Wheel or a Transformer or anything really.
We've talked about this. When I would go to the endocrinologist at Children's, we would go shoe shopping afterwards. And I have a lot of shoes.
Yeah.
And I never placed that as an adult.
We have
I'm
talked about that stuff.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, when you're-
wow.
sticking needles in your kids every day, and
Yeah.
you tend to, want to spoil them a little bit where we probably shouldn't. So
Oh, but
Yeah.
it's so hard. You can't tell anyone what their parenting experience should be like,
Yeah.
or what that mind game is.
yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows
Yeah.
what anybody would do in
Yeah.
that kind of situation?
Absolutely. My kids know their way around hospital gift shops, I'll tell you that much. So, they know right where to head. We've had overindulged, but I love celebrating it. It's also an opportunity to really talk to other people about, type 1 diabetes. Also, one of the biggest things that I've tried every year, for some reason this year I didn't post stuff on Facebook. Normally I do. But empowering parents to listen to their gut instinct. So once a year, I usually like to talk about my experience where I knew Tyler had type 1 diabetes, but I kept listening to the ER doctors tell me he just had a virus. Had I listened to my gut in the first place, he wouldn't have gone into DKA. So really empowering my friends with kids to
Prick a finger. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
prick a finger, to do that, to listen to your gut, and to, if you can, always go to a children's hospital if you need to go to an ER, because most ER doctors don't understand children's bodies, and it can be a life and death situation.
We know more about the disease than most of the ER doctors in any of these hospitals. She's had to give our kids injections because they weren't comfortable doing it.
Wow, that's
With Glucagon.
true.
Yeah.
Glucagon shot.
Yep. In fact, they didn't have access to Glucagon. They realized afterwards. So I had pulled my Glucagon out and mixed it up and looked at the nurses and said, either you all can do this or I'm going to do this, but we can't wait anymore. He's 28. He's a 28 and not responding.
Wow.
So.
Oh, I cannot
Yeah.
imagine. That just gave me chills. Like,
Yeah, and we had another ER experience where we went to an adult ER just because out of convenience. And it was right after first diagnosis where you're freaking out about everything. And he'd been like 60 for about 2 hours. So
now
we
he
thought, oh
wouldn't.
my gosh, we've got to take him in. And looking back, we shouldn't have. But they held us there trying to get a 2-year-old to eat a sandwich,
Sandwiches and-
chips, fruit cup, and like a cheese stick. He had to eat the whole thing before we could leave. So Mac and I ended up eating it just so we could get out of there. We said, he's fine now. We overreacted. We shouldn't have done that. So you never know what you're
Oh my
going to get in the
gosh.
ER.
And it was different with Tyler because in the middle of the night with Tyler, if he was low, I mean, there was some times where we had to take an Oreo and like just take the stuff and just rub it on his gums because he would refuse.
Right.
He'd be and absolutely would refuse any kind of sugar, carbs, or whatever. Tanner, on the other hand, if he's asleep and you get a sippy cup, put whatever you want in it, just kind of wiggle it from his face. He just takes it and sucks it down.
wow.
So it's always been easier with Tanner and with Tyler. That's why it was, he won't eat anything.
Right.
And that was before we had our endocrinologist who said, oh, just mix up a little bit of glucagon and inject them.
Yep.
Before we were with him, if we could not get the boys up, we would have to that was a protocol. Take them to the ER, take them to the ER, take them to the ER. So
Yes.
I think having a child with type 1 makes you realize how fragile the healthcare system is and how much doctors really don't know. I mean, there is a large swath of information that a doctor just can't understand. And if you have a person with type 1 diabetes in your family, you are the expert, no
Yes.
matter where you go, except if you
Absolutely.
go to a childhood endocrinologist.
Yeah.
right.
Besides that, you are the expert. And I'm sure that was shocking for you to see in there.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of the last times that we were in a hospital setting, they kept telling us, he can't just have juice to get his blood sugar up. He needs peanut butter and he needs this and that. And I'm like, well, in a young child, it's not like a type 2 where you want the protein and the sugar. We have to get the sugar in him
Right.
to get him up because he may not go up. And then we have to leave. So we need room in his stomach for more sugar.
Right.
We don't need a protein meal. We need something that's going to spike it. And his pancreas isn't shooting out any insulin right now. So we're going to get him up and he'll stay up. So a lot of them have a hard time grasping that concept, and a lot don't understand, and they don't understand it at all. It's frustrating.
And if you think back, like say your ER doc, okay, he went to medical school. In his first 2 years of training, he received 2 days where they talked about diabetes. Maybe a week if considering the type 2 content and the type 2 complications and type 1, but probably 2 lectures on type 1 diabetes out of a period of say probably 5,000 hours of education.
Yeah.
2, so there in those 2 hours we're talking about like the basics.
Yeah.
There was no training on how to treat a low, how to treat a high. I mean, it's crazy
More
to
about
know
the
that.
diagnosis and
It's about the diagnosis and knowing what the nurses know in the ER.
Yeah.
And it's very fascinating stuff. Yeah.
And if you're not in DKA, they don't want to diagnose it because most of
Right.
the time they're diagnosing in DKA. In fact, I ran into the ER doctor that when Tanner was put into the hospital, and he had even told us, I've never diagnosed out of DKA. Now, 2 years later, I ran into him and he's like, I remember you guys. I still haven't diagnosed anyone out of DK since Tanner, but he had just diagnosed a 45-year-old with a blood sugar of 1800.
How is that even
I
possible?
don't even know. So
That's the highest one I've ever heard.
Yeah, he was airlifted.
Holy
So,
shit. That's a crazy.
Yeah, I'm
His skin and bones.
yeah, he said he was severely ill.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Wow.
It's a smooth looking truck you got there. Is that a power? What is it called? A monster truck.
What's his strap?
Okay.
That's pretty sick.
I feel like that was monster truck. Yeah.
Is that the Gravedigger?
What's his strap?
I've been to these things. I have actually
have?
been to a couple of, yes, and tractor pulls.
Yeah, I love them.
Please don't put that in the podcast.
Yeah.
Don't make me
okay, yeah, no, that's too noisy. It's super fun when you've had some wine, but it's super noisy.
It's a Chewbacca mask. Yeah.
I've said a few straws through the mouth.
Well, I feel like, is there anything else that we really want to touch on? I mean, we got kids that are,
Yeah, they're getting.
I think
They're ready to
we've
go
reached
skating.
a good point. Yeah.
yeah.
We
Or
did.
unless anything else you guys want to pitch out there to,
No, just. I mean, I guess I would just say.
Any advice to a new
I-
parent looking at podcasts and trying to get knowledge? What would you say to them?
Reach out to the organizations in your community. Reach out to the JDRF. There in a lot of communities, there's diabetes solutions.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really, you're obviously already looking. If you're hearing this, you already are involved in the diabetes online community,
right.
But there is such a power in being in a room with other parents who are experiencing what you're experiencing.
Right.
You don't have to be alone in this.
Because we are the experts.
Yeah.
You are.
Literally, we're the experts.
Yeah, because the emotional toll can be pretty taxing on you, and so use the resources you have in your community. Just get involved, get to know other parents, and the JDRF is one of the JDRF and the Diabetes Solutions are probably the best ways to really get involved with other parents and other kids, and create a support system that's not just on the computer or on your phone. That's actually you can sit around a table with.
Absolutely.
It's the best.
Well, and I think I can speak for both of us on this, that we hope to continue to have you guys on every once in a while, just because as the boys grow up, things change.
There's going
and
to be challenges.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel pretty impassioned to do whatever I can to help other parents who are dealing with this, because I spent the first year and a half not reaching out to anybody and trying to do it all on my own. And
Right.
it's not worth it. It's okay to ask for help and to want to be a part of a face-to-face community. So.
And one of the things that I'm bringing up the T1D Exposed group again, because something that they said that was incredibly valuable, and I think for parents as well, shed the shame. Mm-hmm. We're all doing the best that we can with a disease that is unpredictable. So do what you can, and
Well, it educates people.
yeah.
All the kids gather around my kid when he gets his finger pricked. They're like, "Whoa, why are you doing that?" Boom! That's a situation where we can educate people on it. So yeah,
That
Because
is-
that
that's
one
big
kid who
time.
saw Tyler does his blood sugar might be the kid who saves another person with type 1 diabetes life in
That's
college.
right. That's right.
You know, or
Yeah.
during a football game or a basketball game. That might be the kid that says, "Oh, he's low. Get him a Gatorade."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, and making them
Yeah.
feel comfortable about talking about it, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And one day, your kids will thank you so much for what you did, and the genuine care you put into it. One day they will thank you so much.
They may be 52,
And
but
maybe people help it.
I'll
They'll
be
know.
dead when they're 50.
the rate things are going.
We're old parents.
Do the math, and that's depressing.
Yeah.
Oh,
No-
yeah,
no
I guess
need,
you
no
are.
need.
Yeah.
No need to do that.
You'd be in your late 80s.
Tyler was like, "How old will you be when I'm 40?" And we're like, "We didn't even want to talk about. We wouldn't even do the math. Like, I don't want to know."
I'll be
Don't even wanna
72
know.
when you're my age. Wow.
Well, I guess they're my parents. Anyway.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you-
Well,
thank you
thank
so
you
much
guys
for hosting
so
us.
much. This was
Guys.
this is a blast. So, all right. That's it.
All right.
I'm alive. One minor inconvenience, a little thing called diabetes. It's the daily grind and the daily grind, and it grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. Didn't get this disease. I eat too much candy. Sugar, it ain't a pager, it's a pumper when I'm Jones and it comes in handy. Tell me, sugar mama, what you A1C? Are you into endocrinology? The pricker is a pricker and the pumper is pumping. Beats like Wilford, Brenda keeps coming in. Officer, I ain't been drinking. Blood sugar is low. Hold on some insulin just to get it all in, you know. I'm counting carbs and my calories burning. Pricker to the finger to deliver the prick. Wake up tomorrow and it starts again because I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive. Little things don't die. It's the daily grind and the daily grind, and it grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. You got to watch what you're eating. You gotta watch it every day. What do you call it? What do you call it? Is it diabetes or diabetes? Always had to check and see if the levels up and down. What you have for dinner, what you have for lunch. Did you have too many or not enough? Get all the levels to shoot up, shoot up, shoot up, shoot up, shoot up, shoot up. 'Cause I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive. One minor inconvenience, a little thing called diabetes. It's the daily grind and the daily grind. It grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. 'Cause I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive. One minor inconvenience, a little thing called diabetes. It's a daily grind and the daily grind, and it grinds and grinds and grinds. 'Cause I've got more Lancets than you. Listen, I got more Lancets than you. Because I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive. I'm alive. One minor inconvenience, a little thing called diabetes.